I figured it out. We did it right today. I'm so excited. And Michael wasn't here to even see it. And that's so depressing because like, I think I'm going to do it right today. Dang it. And Michael's not here. So Michael had a meeting this morning and I'm sorry he's not going to be on with us this morning. It makes me sad because I know it would be so excited like me to be able to talk to Heather Boss this morning. So he's not going to be here, but we will carry on without him. So it'll be girl show today. And I was going to do a thing where I was going to pretend that I couldn't come in and do a little glitchy thing and then go April Fools. But it was probably an April Fool that I just got on here right this morning. That was like April Fools. April Fools. I'm on right this morning. So anyway, I hope everybody's good. I have to say, I can't even believe that it's the 1st of April. I don't know if it's just, I've had so many things to do this year so far. I'm not sure, but I'm telling you, I was thinking, what happened to January, February, and March? Good morning, Wendy. How are you? I'm serious. I just can't even believe it. And oh my gosh, I'm serious. We need to be praying for rain and no tornadoes and damaging hail, but just some rain because I cannot believe how dry it is. I'm out in the district. I'm driving by farm ponds going, hello, is there any water in there? I mean, we got to have some rain. And it's weird. I can't even believe everything's as green as it is without, but we did have a nice fall and some nice rain in the fall. So that's good. Does anybody know what today through Friday is? Oh. Wendy says she's getting the animals into the storm shelter this afternoon. That's a big storm shelter, or you have 3 animals. What I'm not sure what it is, but it could be a very big storm shelter. Does anybody know? So this is candidate filing. So today, tomorrow, and Friday are candidate filing days where we all get to go down to the Capitol and hand them our checks and our paperwork and say that we're running for whatever seat. So I'm really not understanding the whole process. I don't know if it's just the pomp and circumstance. I'm not sure what's going on there, but I still wonder why. I mean, there is, if you don't have the money for the check, because you do as a candidate, you do have to pay. There is a filing fee. If you don't have the filing fee, you can go out in your district and get people to sign on a petition for you to run without a filing fee, which I think is probably even a harder sell than going and finding the money to get the filing fee. So I'm trying to figure out why we have the filing fee, why we have I just don't know. I may ask today because you know me. I mean, inquiring minds want to know. All right. And so inquiring minds this morning are going to want to know my guest for today, Heather Boss. Heather is, okay, we'll see. I'm not the only person who thinks this is, sus, maybe. Anyway, so we have Heather Boss on this morning, and I know Michael was really disappointed because he wanted to talk to her too. And I do like this part of the show, and I do like the ability to talk to candidates because I just feel like it's you don't see a whole lot of that out there. And I was talking to somebody on a doorstep the other day, and he said, we used to get the newspaper out here. I mean, we used to get, and I think it was Hera Register or Hera Times or something, and they don't get that anymore. And so he said, I have no way of knowing. I'd have to go out on the internet and search it out. I don't know who's running. I don't know anything about the candidates. I don't know what. And I thought, that's so sad. I guess I never even really thought about that. But is that one reason why we had to get the internet and do away with newspapers? It just makes it harder for people to find candidate information who are just used to getting it, in their newspaper. I don't know. It was kind of it bothered me a little bit when he said that. And I thought, just another putting on my aluminum foil hat, so I can just have one yet more conspiracy. All right. So I'm going to bring on Heather this morning. Maybe we've got conspiracies that we could just talk about in general. I don't know, but I'm going to bring her on. Good morning. How are you? Oh, I think I muted your mic. That's
Sorry. There we go.
Now we can talk.
Conspiracies. I'm all in. Let's go. Where's my hat?
It is crazy, isn't it? You just feel like you live in conspiracy land anymore.
See, but we're not conspiracy theorists anymore, right? They're proving them all to be true. So we need some new ones.
I used to believe in conspiracies, but then I waited 15 minutes or something.
Exactly. Noah was a conspiracy theorist, and then it rained. So, we can go there.
That's a good one. Well, I had the pleasure of meeting you recently at an event that Mick Rosato did at the Capitol, which was kind of sad in itself. She's been trying to get a bill to get the government to look into what happened in hospitals with COVID patients, because so many people lost loved ones in the hospital during COVID. And it's like, now that COVID's over, we just don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate. It's sad.
So she was going to do a little thing about that. And then she kind of turned it into a, let's get government, right, on the right track. And I had known of you because I'd seen you on social media, but I'd never met you. And before I met you, and we talked too much, I heard your speech that you did at that rally, and I was blown away.
Oh, thank you.
Number one, you are an excellent writer.
Thank you. Thank you.
I mean, I had a little Christian jealousy, bubbling up. I was like, dang, she's a really good writer. And you're a very good orator. That's another thing. You are a very good orator. And I loved your message. So why don't you kind of sum up for me and everybody watching, sum up for us what your overall message was that day, because it was excellent.
Yeah, basically just we need to get the people who are elected following the rules and following good rules. So right now, every 2 years, the legislature votes on their rules and their in-house rules. Well, why aren't the people involved in these rules? Let's just go there because we're electing you to there. But so we're hoping you're making good decisions. Well, some of these decisions exclude other people. So not all bills have to be heard. That is something that we should all be concerned about. Every bill should have an opportunity to at least go to committee, is what I stated, if not further, but at least to committee so that it can be on record that they were heard, what people thought of it, what they voted for it, and where they stand. Because right now, they're not even making it to committee, so nobody has to go public with what they think or feel about these bills that are being presented. And then you have people that are being elected and sent to the Capitol to represent a district, and whole districts are losing their voices because their representative or senator is not allowed to present a bill in committee that their district sent them to represent. So then a whole district of Oklahoma is being silenced. Where's the outrage? Where's the uproar? And so that was basically the overview, is that we need to stay involved and we need to change these rules. And so if you look, I want to say it's like goldenrules.org or .com. You can probably just Google it, but it's the golden rules. And these were written and voted down. But these are rules that would absolutely 100% shift the dynamic of what takes place at the Capitol every year, where conservative bills, good bills, are not being heard. Instead, we have poop bills being presented. So, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. So I was there 2 years ago. They can run the rules package every 2 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And so I was there last year when they did that. And we're not, there are many of us, and you stated it very well, there are many of us whose voices aren't even being heard in representative government because the powers that be just shut them down.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened to the rules. So Tom Gann brought the rules up because these are Representative Tom Gann's.
Mm-hmm.
He asked for them to be considered, and he was just told no.
Yeah.
Nope, not going to consider them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's sad and angering. And I think if more people spoke up, it could change. And then we could see a real difference taking place.
I think they think, even though there are cameras and everything else, I truly believe there are a big chunk of them that just believe, I mean, that it's almost like an oligarchy, that, you know, that they're governing by right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were elected, so it is their right to govern, and they just govern, you know, however they govern, because that's their right. They were elected to do it. And when you watch some of these committee hearings, and when you watch some of the deliberations on the floor, which have gotten so much more interesting since Jim Shaw and Molly Jenkins, now with Tom Gann and Gabe Woolley. I mean, there's actually some discussion going on instead of just green button pushing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like one of those wind up monkeys, you know.
I bet we could make a toy that did that and sell it for some big bucks. Could help us raise money for our campaigns.
Yeah, but we would need one that pushed the no button.
Yeah, we should make one. I think that's a great idea.
But, you know, in all honesty, we're both candidates, so we're both out on the doorsteps. You were telling me a few things that you heard on the doorstep before we got on. And one of the things that I hear on the doorstep, I mean, I'm going to say the majority of the time I actually get somebody at home, because that's the other trick, right?
Right.
People have no idea who their representative is.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say, well, you know, look, here's what you need to do. I mean, I had one guy, I'll give you a perfect example. I had one guy who said, well, I'm just going to vote for you because I'm sick of what's going on. And I said, well, okay. And I'm happy to take your vote. But here's the thing. You need to know about me. I just showed up on your doorstep. You don't know anything about me. You know, you need to go look at my website and you need to check me out. I mean, you may not like me. And he said, well, but if you're going to go up there and make changes, you know, then I'm going to like you. And I said, okay, but let me ask you this. Have you ever called our representative? Have you ever talked to him, or, you know, have you ever asked him to vote on a bill or not vote on a bill? And he said, well, no. And I said, okay, but if I get in there, I can't make a difference unless you're willing to help me make that difference. Yeah. You have to be willing to call me and go, Jenny, I don't want you to pass that bill, or Jenny, I need help with this, or Jenny, I don't want this. You can't just, you know, you can't just expect people to do the right thing. You have to be involved in the process. He got mad at me.
Uh-oh. He
got frustrated with me. Mm-hmm. And he said, well, that's not the way government's supposed to work. I vote for you, and then you. And I said, but it doesn't work that way. I mean, it might theoretically. And we had a discussion about it. And I think kind of at the end, maybe he got a little less agitated. But I think that's really what people think. I think they think they're going to vote for us, and somehow we're going to magically.
Right.
And it doesn't, if we don't have the voices, we can't, we have to have so many of our voices out here to overcome the voices that are the special interests that are doling out cash.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. That's absolutely how it should work. It should be a bottom-up structure. It should be the people talking to the person that they've elected. So that's my thing I hand out. This boss works for you, because that's my last name. So they have forgotten that the boss that they're electing to the representative or Senate seat works for them. Like every time I knock on a door, it is a interview It's an interview with the person, and they're deciding whether or not I will do a great job for them, representing them and their interests at the Capitol. But they've forgotten that because, like you said, the lobbyists and the special interests are coming in with all this money, and their money speaks louder than the voices in the district. And again, all this ties together, the golden rules, the money, it all just ties together. And, I had somebody ask me at the governor's forum on Monday night. They weren't in my district. We were just making small talk. And they said, how much money on average do you spend for a Senate seat? I said, well, like, are you supposed to spend, or like that I'm gonna spend? Like, because depending on the Senate seat, you could be talking like $500,000, like just because there's special interest involved and how badly do they want that seat. But me, like, I don't know, we've spent maybe $5,000. Like, I don't know, maybe I don't keep track of all that. My husband does. So, but I think maybe with signs and the fundraiser that we held, like, there's no need. If I'm at the doorstep, that's how I'm getting votes. Driving to the door didn't cost me anything to talk to you.
It does now. It's almost $4 a gallon.
I know.
I'm stopping you right
Okay.
there.
All right. Yes, you're right. It does. It costs absolutely a lot. So turn the car off. Let it sit there. Go real slow. Don't they recommend you go under a certain mile and you save money on your gas? Go real slow, creeping down the road.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I'm in a rural district, and there's a lot of room between doors. And I just keep looking at the gauge going, oh, please don't be $5 at the pump today.
Oh, absolutely. No, we're a little closer. So part of the district is in Moore, and part of the district is in Southwest Oklahoma City. And okay. I didn't realize how rural Southwest Oklahoma City actually got. Mm-hmm. And so when I started driving in all these private drives and all these private gates, I'm like, well, okay. And just long spaces in between. And so I learned a whole new part of the district when I started driving around, trying to meet people. Yeah.
So I want to put this in because I think this is important. Valerie says, I spoke out about someone passing a bill and she DM'd me and told me to get back in line with what she was doing. Well, Valerie, I'm going to go a little beyond. It was so frustrating too. That's completely unconstitutional. I'm just going to, I don't know what else to tell you. That's beyond frustrating. I mean, told you to get back in line with her program. Wendy says, dang. Well, but it's, I do believe that what has happened is that over the years, and you can go back in history and see this, it's not hard. It's just, you want to take the time to do it. It was very much a citizen-based government, I mean, certainly that's the way the founders had it, who was George Washington, was not going to become president, didn't even want to, because he just wanted to go back. It was just go serve your term and, turn around and go back and get somebody else to serve, the next term, so that there was, turnover.
Yeah.
And we don't think about that on a number of levels. Number one, the turnover was necessary, because what happens when you stay in 12 years or 15, or in some cases 45 at the federal level, you become so entrenched that you basically believe you run the government. And you've got people who just continually give you money because, now you've got seniority, and it is not the way our government should be run.
No, absolutely not. No, there should be term limits, 100%. We shouldn't be allowing folks to stay in as long as they're staying in. Not only that, times change. Like, okay, I grew up with the internet, like it was up and coming, right? But now I'm so old that it's hard for me, and somebody has to explain it to me. So when you think of all these folks who've stayed in office all these years, they don't necessarily understand the changes with the times and the seasons, and don't grow with it. And they stay in that old mindset, and then it's my way or the highway, and your voice doesn't matter.
Well, it's funny because I have a different philosophy on term limits. I don't believe in term limits, and here's the reason why.
Okay.
I feel like the more we do things for people, the less they do for themselves.
Right.
And my feeling is if they say, oh, well, he's term limited to 12 years, then they just kind of check out going, oh, well, in 12 years, we'll get somebody new then.
Sure.
So I have a different philosophy about that because I just feel like term limits. And then not only that, here's another reason I am not a term limit fan. Tom Gann is one of the most stalwart conservatives in the House of Representatives. So in 2 years, Tom Gann's out.
Yeah. Yeah. When they are good folks, it's really sad to see that there's a term limit. But then when you have bad folks, it's like, gosh, could their term end quicker? So I think what needs to happen is with just like when you're working in the business, right? And you are running a company or you're managing your store, you're always looking for somebody to come up under you. Same in the church. You're raising up someone to come under you because the pastor is not going to stay there forever. They're going to just end up having to go somewhere else, or they're going to end up dying, whatever the shift may be. But you should always have somebody under you who understands what it should be and what it should look like. They understand what you understand, and you're training them, an apprentice, and you're training them up so that when your time is over, people know, okay, this is who I think should be or could be an excellent replacement. There has got to be another Tom Gann in his district that would be able to rise up, come under him over the next 2 years and be able to learn to step into that and be like, okay, we know that he's going to be just like him, so that we are ensuring that good people are constantly, and that's how you make a change. I mean, because then you're teaching the next generation. The Bible tells us to teach the next generation and to share with them and write it on their hearts and to walk with them in it daily. So same with the Bible, we should be doing that with the Constitution and with the government. Well, this is how it works. This is how it should work. This is what it was originally intended to run as. And as they learn that, they can better understand. And then we know, okay, we've got a good generation of people up and coming.
So Shelley and I, sometimes we're not on the same page. We're definitely on the same page with this. And she says term limits empower the lobbyists. And then Wendy said, I don't want Tom out. And then she also goes on to say, but like you have talked about, the grassroots are working hard to get good people in because we need to stay. Yeah. But Shelley says, let the voters decide. Term limits are about power and control. Let the voters decide. By the way, the Bible does not shift. Psalms 146:3. I'll have to look that one up because that's not written on my heart. And then Valerie says, it's not just the member who needs term limits. Oh my gosh, Valerie, I love you so much. Don't you love Valerie?
Oh, yes. Valerie's in my district, so I do. I love Valerie.
When a new member comes in, it's the same old staff telling them what they do to get up to speed. You know what? You put your finger, Valerie, on the swamp. Yeah. That's what the swamp is.
Yeah.
It's not even getting those politicians out, because even if we do have term limits and they have to go, their staff stays, and they're the ones that continue on down the road, because we're not doing what you're saying, Heather, which is to bring people up underneath us and get people involved, people who might want to, take over for us, so that we don't get entrenched and, we don't stay there for forever. So, man, I love that. Good job, Valerie. We love you too. That's awesome. Don't you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the staff should change too. I mean, when I'm elected, that would be something I would want to be able to hire my own EA. Like, I don't want to come in and have this EA that I don't know, that, like you're saying, has been entrenched and who they know and the web that they've woven, right? I need to be able to trust the person is going to do the things that I'm asking them to do and to enact what I'm trying to enact. And so it's basically like a backup for me there in the Capitol. And so absolutely 100% I agree that that needs to change.
I honestly think there's got to be something at the federal level that says once a congressman or a senator leaves, their staff goes too.
Yeah.
They have to remove all the staff.
Yep, absolutely.
Because that is absolutely what's causing a huge part of the problem. Well, let's back up a little bit because I love to talk government and politics so much that I skip over so many things. So tell me a little bit about you. I mean, a little bit of your background, family life, whatever you want to say. Let's just hear a little bit about Heather as a person.
Absolutely. I am married to my wonderful husband, Taylor. We've been married since 2013. I had to think about that. We got married in 2013 and we got married in Michigan. And then we moved here to Oklahoma at the beginning of 2014. It was like February, right around the Super Bowl time. And we have lived here ever since. We started a church with my parents. They came down during the May tornado that year, 2013, and did Here and More, and did disaster relief. So right behind our church is actually where the tornado went through. And so it hit the Plaza Towers Elementary School and went through and destroyed a bunch of homes and families here. And so we came and we did disaster relief over the summer. And then we got married that September and then moved down in that February of 14. So then we opened as a church that spring and started church ministry and have been doing that ever since. So I help pastor a church called the Remnant Church of God here in Moore. And we do a lot of ministry to the community. We do a lot of missions outside of that. We have a prison ministry. I'm involved in our denomination's national ministry. So I travel with our women's ministry for the national level. I'm on the board. That keeps me pretty busy with the region. So we're broke up into regions. So I have 5 states that I am the president over for our denomination. And then I sit on the national board as well. And in that, I get to serve the community and get to serve the Lord. And that's my heart. And so that's where I kind of thought I would stay in that vein. When I was going to school in Chicago, I thought, well, I'm going to go into political science. And I walked into my first class and I walked out and said, nope, not for me. Turned around, walked out and said, I'm going to study something else. And so I ended up studying ministry and the Bible and did some theology classes once I moved here to Oklahoma. And so that is where I thought I was always going to stay. Well, turns out, God is God. And so he can kind of just,
there's no arguing with that.
There's no arguing with the Lord. And he is, I am. And so, in 2024, I was asked to lead worship services at the Capitol. And so I began that February through May. There were 16 weeks while they were in session. Every Monday night, I would host a worship service at the Capitol. We started out in room 450, moved to room 100, and then we were in the Supreme Court hallway because we were growing so quickly. We just kept outgrowing all the rooms. And so we would have a dinner and we'd have pastors and worship teams come in from across the state and across denominations. It wasn't just one denomination. It wasn't just local. Like they would come from all over Oklahoma to come lead worship and preach the word of God. We would invite different representatives and senators to come and join us, and they would come. And so we had 16 weeks of service. During that time, when I met some of these representatives, they were like, well, you should run for the House. And I'm like, you're crazy. But I'll go home and I'll pray about it, thinking God surely isn't going to say run for House. And then I said, well, and then I'll check with my husband, thinking he'll really shut it down for me, right? Like he'd be my super out. No. So my husband looked at me and he said, well, if not you, then who? Like, why are we there? What is right? Like, seriously. Ouch. So I said, okay. So I went back and I said, all right, well, I guess I'm running, but you've got to pay my filing fee. Speaking of filing fees, I said, you got to pay my filing fee. So they did. So they paid my filing fee. I ran for House. Look, I knew nobody from nowhere. I was not involved politically. I didn't know what I was doing, but the Lord brought the right people around me and was able to walk me through that season and help me to grow in understanding of politics and Oklahoma politics and how things work and how they should work, and what I was really getting myself into. So I didn't fail miserably. I came in third place. I got 17% of the vote. And so for someone who didn't really, I had 2 months. I filed on the last day of filing 2 years ago. So, literally it was 2 months knocking doors, and that was it. And so 17% of the vote.
That's pretty
Well, fast forward, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm done, but I'm not done. So I stayed involved in politics. I stayed involved in the GOP. I'm involved in my Cleveland County GOP. I'm involved in the state GOP, and, just continuing to learn what was happening and be frustrated by certain things. And so last summer, I felt the Lord saying to run for this seat because it was going to be an open seat. Originally, it wasn't going to be because Darrell Weaver, who holds this seat, had another term he could run for. And it's always harder to beat an incumbent, especially one that is, most people seem to be okay with in the district. And so I was like, that's not even something I want to put on my radar. Well, when the seat came open, I was like, okay, I felt the tugging of the Lord and that still small voice. And I'm like, okay, God, well, if you want me to run, I'm going to need a sign. Well, almost instantly, someone who didn't even know I was considering it texted me and said, "Are you going to run?" Like, I showed my husband the text message. He's like, "We're going to have to deal with that after vacation." And I said, okay. So I said, I'll reply to you later. I'll let you know. And then I said, okay, God, that's not good enough. I need more signs. So I think we ended up with like 7 signs, me arguing with the Lord. You don't argue with God because you don't win ever. Yeah. And so I should learn this from the Bible, right? Like I should know this, that we don't win. So I wrestled with the Lord all summer about this. And it wasn't until I said yes that I had peace in my spirit and in my mind. And I felt, okay, all right. Okay, God, yes. Why I'm running? He hasn't given me the answer. He obviously hasn't told me if I'm going to win or not, but the yes is what he's looking for. He's looking for that obedience. And so that's what I did. I said yes. And so here we are running the race.
Now you had the sweetest picture. I put it in our intro because I thought it was so sweet. Oh. You have a picture. I'm assuming you were out knocking doors or something, and you have some little person in the back seat just conked out.
Yes, that's Ezra. So he just turned 3 this last week, and he likes to go door knocking with me. He loves it. And so he'll want to get out of the car and go up to the doors. And, a lot of times people aren't home, so we just put our information there. But if they're home, he's so cute. He goes, "Hi, I'm Ezra, EZRA." And then he hands them their package and of information, and they say thank you. And then he just, vote boss. And it's just the cutest thing. Oh, so he's fun to take to the doors unless they actually want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Then he just bops around.
Mom.
Yeah, exactly.
Mom.
Yeah. The funniest story was this past weekend. I was out knocking and I had all the kids with me in the car.
Now, how many do you have? First, tell me that.
So I have 4 altogether, 3 that live at home. They're younger. And so the 3 that were younger were with me in the car, and out the window, I'm talking to this gentleman. We're having a conversation about human trafficking. Okay. We're talking about human trafficking. So it's a serious conversation.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a bill that was passed last year, and we're just in depth. Next thing I know, Mom, I gotta poop. So I'm like, "Sir, I'm sorry. I got to take her to the bathroom."
Oh my goodness. Honestly, kids, there is nothing about the humility that you get as a parent from having children. There just isn't. There is not.
Absolutely. So they keep me on my toes, especially when I'm door knocking.
I'm sorry, but that's funny. I mean, you're just like, yeah.
Yep. And of course he understood. And so, most people do understand that I've got my kids with me. And so but yes, You never know what's going to come out of their mouth.
We're all kind of, Julie says, too much information. When do kids know what too much information
Right,
is?
exactly.
They'll tell you all kinds of stuff.
They absolutely will.
That's so funny. So that was, and Shelley's talking about, and that's, she says that's a fact. Our wrestling lands in obedience. He does want us to wrestle with him. Awesome. Ezra returned Israel back to the covenants of the Lord, back to the instructions of the Lord. So, okay. So now I was going to ask you what your husband does.
So my husband's in sales, and he's been in sales since we met. And so it's mattress sales of all things.
Oh, okay.
And so he's done that forever and ever. And yeah, so that's what he does. It helps me be able to stay at home. So I've been a stay-at-home mom in addition to working at the church and traveling for ministry things. And so his job allows me to be able to do that.
Well, I was going to actually, because we've had conversations about prison ministry here recently too, because you've been involved in that a little bit as well, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah. So we started a group here at our church called Fathers on the Move, Oklahoma. It's actually a nationally known group. They have a 2% recidivism rate.
Yeah, 2%.
Yeah, it's
he
huge.
Told me that, and my jaw literally just went. I mean, how do you hit that kind of a rate? That's amazing. Only Jesus, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so governors and different people across the nation are getting on board with this and allowing this program in. And so we were approached to help start this about the same time I did the worship at the Capitol. And so we got involved with it, and now we're getting ready to launch Sisters on the Move, Oklahoma. So right now we're only in men's prisons. In Sisters on the Move will allow us to send the women into the women's ministry or the women's prisons to do ministry as well. So yeah, it is wonderful. Every weekend a team of men go out from the church, and actually from across Oklahoma. We had a pastor from Tahlequah go up there this past weekend and minister. And then we've had a representative come and speak at the graduation from South Oklahoma and come up. So we've had folks from all over go and minister to these men, but we go in with the fact of teaching them. I don't go in because it's men's ministry. Yeah. They go in with the fact that they're going to be teaching these men how to be men, how to be fathers, how to be real men in society. And some of these men, the stories that we hear on Sunday when they get back from prison ministry on Saturdays, that they tell us that some of these men don't know how to tie ties. And they ask, even though they're going to serve a life sentence and they're never getting out, they want to know how to tie a tie. And so these are the simple things that they're teaching them there in prison, in addition to showing them the love of Christ and leading them in a way to become a godly man. They walk them through this process that in the end, when they've graduated level 1, the level 1 moves up to level 2, and the level 2s become mentors to level 1s. And it's just amazing to hear their transformation stories as they grow and they work through graduation. And yeah, it's wonderful to watch.
I was because I was talking to, is he the head pastor nationwide or?
Yeah. So Victor Glover, he is in charge of Fathers on the Move. He's the one who founded Fathers on the Move.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yes.
He was incredible. I could have talked to that man for probably a whole weekend.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he just had me so excited about their program. I was like, that's just amazing. And I still do think, let me just throw this in really fast. Crystal says, yay, Sisters on the Move. So she's excited about that. And Shelley said that she does love prison ministry and she would like to get hooked up with that. So I can give you, Shelley, can I give Heather your number and then you guys can do the visit?
That would be perfect.
So I just think that's, I think warehousing people is wrong. I think it's wrong. It's not helping those people.
Right.
And eventually many of them are going to get out.
Yeah.
So do you really want to put somebody in a place with a bunch of other people who have similar issues and then just shake it up and see what happens? I mean, is that what we want to do? I mean, I just feel like prison ministry is invaluable. I just think it's invaluable, and I've always been interested in it. It's just not something that I've done, but having gone to James Crabtree just recently for a second chance movement event, it just really, brought it home that there are people there who will eventually get out, and we want those people to be people that we're happy to have back in society, not just for us, but for them. I mean, living a better life doesn't mean having money and sitting out by a pool in your backyard. Living a better life means that you're happy in your skin and you can have a family life and you can be involved in your community. That's what living a better life means.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so they're going in and they're reforming these men and how they think and how they feel. And, men don't particularly like to deal with their emotions, and they don't particularly like to deal with the issues. And so they don't do a lot of self-work. And so also what they're doing on those weekends that they go is the work that needs to be done to get to the root of the issue that has caused them to be here. And a lot of times it goes back because they are fatherless. And so when you have a fatherless home, you have a lot of corruption that can happen and a lot of deception that can happen and lead kids away and down a path that they should have never gone. And so in addition to the prison ministry, Fathers on the Move does preventative work. And so we have programs where, we'll take boys fishing, or we'll teach them how to work on cars and do the preventative work where we're teaching them how to be a man and what that looks like biblically and what that looks like in society, and not being afraid to stand up when someone comes to them and says, well, let's go down the road and do X, Y, and Z, but you could end up in jail. So there's preventative measures in addition to the reactive measures in the prison.
Wade says warehousing people is only for profit. And I just 100% agree with that. It's for people to make money. And I think if you, and we all have to have jobs, vocations. I mean, you run a prison. Okay, I get it. But I'm just saying, if it were not for people like you who aren't making, your only profit is up there.
Yeah.
That's your 100%. Only profit.
100%. And some days it's harder than others to be like, oh man.
Yeah. No, I mean, for absolute sure. But I did want to point this out. Julie says they start warehousing at 3 months old now. Wow. It's true, because I feel the same way about children in public school. I feel like that's just a warehouse anymore. Crystal says, yes, join the movement. Fathers on the Move, Oklahoman Sisters on the Move. Only move when those willing to say yes, send me. So that's good. I did want to touch on that a little bit, because I just feel like that's just an area that needs more light shown on it, and more volunteers, because I just think it's an extremely worthy effort. And then I've got some issues with our inability to treat people who have psychological problems, and that's another issue for another day, but that is another huge issue for me. And okay, so there was something I did want to do this, because it's kind of a it's not an experiment, really. It's just an educational thing, I guess. So I want you to tell me what being a conservative means to you.
Conservative. So, okay. I don't know where you're going with this, but let's see.
No, I mean, just I'm not going anywhere with it. I just want, people, we all hear it all the time. The man I'm running against, I get his mailers constantly telling me how conservative he is, when one measure that was done by the Oklahoma State Capitol, at Jason Murphy looked at 98 bills, and he had a 27% conservative rating. So obviously conservative means different things to different people. So
Sure.
I just wanted to get what your take on, because I can tell you what mine is after you tell me yours.
Absolutely. So the more I've been getting involved in grassroots and getting involved in politics and really understanding, it should be bottom up structure, right? The word conservative actually strikes a lot of people in the grassroots movement wrong. And it is more not willing to change is what it's been correlated to. So I don't run on a conservative platform. I run on a constitutional platform. And so that's what it says on all of my stuff. It says constitutional Republican. And so because conservative can be misconstrued and misunderstood, and because it does have such wide variety of meaning, and a lot recently, it's like they're not willing to change. They don't want to change what they think. They're conservative in their views. I think that conservative, like you're saying, can have many different views. And the one that I'm learning recently is that there's someone who's not necessarily for change. If that makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So Julia says you can hardly even use the word anymore because it's so misused. So here's my definition for conservatism. And I am a conservative. So, and I'm a constitutionalist for sure, but this is the way I feel about conservatism. So as a conservatism, you conserve all of the power in government to the people. And the only way that you can conserve all the power in government to the people is by making government as small as you possibly can.
See, now, if everybody had your definition, we'd be okay.
Well, if you go look up the definition of conservative, anything conservative means to keep what you have, right? You're not giving something away if you're conserving it, right? So I try to explain that to people, and I try to educate people on that definition, because I think if we look at it like that, there's not really a room for people to get too agitated about it, because I want to know the person who doesn't want to have power conserved to themselves.
Right.
Because we're going to have way more problems between you and me than just a definition. If you don't understand that the government is we, the people. It's not you, the people. It's not the elitists, the people. It's we. That means all of us, every single one of us. Doesn't matter what we do. It's we, the people. So if that's the case, and government is we, the people, we need to conserve that power to ourselves by making government so small that we can affect it by ourselves. Right now, we don't have that.
I think you should write a dictionary and put that at the top of the list and then publish it. Because I think if everybody understood, because, the problem is we have so many definitions of different words. The other day I was in a chat with somebody and I used the word nice. I called somebody nice. I said, well, she's nice. I didn't like what she had to say, but she's nice. They said, do you know what the definition of the word nice is? 13th century nice. And I'm like, no. And I had to go look it up, and nice did not mean nice. So I encourage everybody to go look that up. Oh yeah, it didn't mean nice. It was actually an insult. And so I said, well, then I really mean she's nice. So so I was not so anyways, so we've lost over time, with the changing culture, definitions and their true meanings. And if we could just get back to the root of what things truly mean. And I think what you're describing and constitutional are the same. And so in reality, the root of it is the same. And so, yeah, absolutely.
We have to make government, we have to return it to we the people. And it's we the lobbyists, it's we the special interests right now at every level. It's honestly mind-blowing to me to see even some city councils, thinking, no, it's great. We're going to go ahead and send somebody to go see a data center because, these people are going to give us $27 million.
Yeah. Oh,
I can make up a figure too. Heather, do you want me to make one up?
Did you know that
175 million.
60% of all statistics are made up on the spot?
It is kind of dopey. I mean,
Maybe
you
that
just
one
kind
was
of go, well,
too.
I can make up a figure too.
Right. Yeah. Maybe that one was made up too. I don't know.
Okay, so let me throw in a couple of, I love this. Voluntary taxes would do that. That's always Julia's favorite go-to is voluntary taxes. I telling you, I would love it. Bottom-up structure is why we should not do term limits. We need to ensure we are not running local conservative GOP with central committees and executive committees. It needs to be the county committees, 3 up and 1 up on the Constitution. She says 3 up on, okay, GOP rules use executive and central only as prescribed in rules. I will say I'm not huge into the Republican Party structure because I'm just going straight to we the people. Too many who do not believe in conservatism are calling themselves conservative just to get votes. Absolutely, they do. I just thought of someone I often call nice, but I really mean fake nice with 0 Gracie, we must be the same age because I totally remember the power to the people. I totally do. And I don't think that was what they thought it was back then, but I mean, definitely. And the way the economy is now, then not very many people would be able to pay taxes. That's following up on Julia's comment about voluntary taxes. However, one of the fastest ways to shrink government, and every time you say this, people's hair catches on fire. A use tax.
A use tax.
A use tax.
Okay.
If I buy it, I pay a tax for it. It's voluntary.
Yeah.
I wanted to buy the TV, therefore I paid the taxes on it.
Yeah.
That would shrink government to and nothing, flat. But nobody wants to do a use tax. Their hair catches fire and they say, there's no way we would never be able to fund government with just a use tax because people would quit buying things. There's a ream, a big ream of reasons why you could never do a use tax. But they're all completely wrong. You certainly could do it. You just don't want to do it. So my feeling is let's always talk truthfully and not around the topic. And so
yeah. I think
we can do it. You just don't want to
work. It could absolutely work if the government structure was willing to let go of all the other taxes. So in Moore, we have an election on April 7th, and we have a school board election, but we also have a proposition being presented. And you go around the city right now, and everywhere it says vote yes for this proposition. But the problem is people aren't understanding why they should vote no. So it's a sales tax increase, and it's a 1% increase. So we're going to go from 8.5% to 9.5%. And in theory, the way they've presented it, sure, it could work to lower our property taxes. However, we have so many GO bonds already on the record that our property taxes aren't going to go down for many years, and at least 10. I don't know the actual scope of it. And then I asked them, I went to a town hall with city council, and I asked them to go on record and to put somewhere in the provisions that because they're stating they're not going to do any more GO bonds if this tax increase goes through, and that would begin to lower our city property taxes. And I asked them simply to go on record and put a provision in that this would be the case. And they said, no, you're just going to have to take our word for it. And so, yeah, 100%. I wish I really need to get like the glasses that record, because like life would just be so much
Yeah,
better.
because if you ain't Jesus, I ain't taking you at your word.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you're not going to put it in writing, I'm going to vote no for the sales tax increase. It's going to increase. The theory they present is that, of course, people outside of more come to shop and come to eat and come to buy. So we'll have more taxes. But the problem is you're not giving us a guarantee that you will not put another geo bond on a proposition 2 years down the road when you're not seeing the sales tax work, when you're not seeing people come to more anymore because we have a higher sales tax than those around us. And so for me, it's a big fat no on this proposition because you're not giving us a guarantee that anything like this is going to happen. It also is just going to a general fund. And so you don't, with the geo bonds, you can specify whether you want to be in support of something as a citizen or not. And whether you want to voluntarily give your taxes for that, you can say yes or no with a geo bond. With sales tax, you don't get to say yes or no. And once it's a permanent increase. So I think that so anyways, we have this coming up on April 7th. And those are things I've been talking to citizens about as well at the doorstep to make sure they get out and vote on that day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's happened is, well, certainly we're not teaching enough civics in public education. We're not teaching really any economics in public education. And so I think what has happened over the years is that it's become a let government take care of it thought, because, well, that's government. I really honestly do believe there are way too many people who believe that there's some tree, in the back of the Capitol and it just produces money. And, that's what funds all these things. And they just don't sit down and put two and two together. Just use a little common sense. I mean, you don't have to be an economist, for God's sakes, just use a little common sense. Absolutely. If we're doing things that really aren't the government's function anyway, then you're going to need more money from that. And why do we want to fund something that isn't the government's function anyway? But then you ask people what is the function of government anymore, and they go, blah, 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 blah. I mean, or everything. Yeah. It's either I don't know or everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have to start teaching that again and helping, like I said earlier, teaching that younger generation, raising them up to understand and to come alongside and to grow them with you. Otherwise, it's going to be completely lost one day.
See, me and Jules. Revenue stream means how to steal without going to jail. I mean, I completely... there have been several good comments about this is a good one, and but it's right. On a use tax, basically, the government gets what the government gets, and if the economy's good, they get a little more. If they don't, if it's not, they don't. Yeah, there you go. I mean, it's not hurting. That way it's not hurting us because the government still has to be paid for 357 boards and commissions. Right. And 250 revolving funds. Yeah. And I mean, it's so out of control. Property tax is so evil and it's hurting people. There is no question about that at all. Just say no to taxes. I agree. A use tax could work. But isn't that what European countries did with value-added tax? A VAT tax is not a use tax, but I can't speak on that intelligently at this point because I would have to go back and see where they're different. But I know they're not really the same. It was almost about you had to raise the tax, you had to raise the value of whatever you were buying to do something with the tax. And I don't remember, like I said, I can't speak on it intellectually, but I will look it up and look, but I don't think, no, it's the same thing. That's a huge warning sign. I'm not sure what she was going for with that. Those that do not pay property taxes are allowed to vote on property tax increases. And there you have another one of the big problems with government that shouldn't be a big problem with government. Yeah. Yep. Right there. Ad valorem go bonds are awful. The 10% mill rate is per bond. It's disgusting, and we need a cap on that number. And I would agree with that. Rural Oklahoma sales taxes are what?
Wow.
Where? Which? What? Really?
Wow.
Oh, Robert, that's criminal. Revenue stream. Oh, we said that one. Quit letting this. Well, that would help. I would completely agree with that. Yeah, you're right, Robert. Yeah, our tax assessor hired. What? Wendy, that's terrible. Their tax assessor hired a felon and she abused her job, and now we're paying extreme taxes. Oh my goodness.
Crazy.
And she says she doesn't know why. Oh, Robert says go to Bristow or Okmulgee, over 10%. So
Yeah.
you can't even like go get, if you wanted to, I don't drink soda, but you could go get a soda and you're paying 10% tax on that.
Yeah. And that's what Moore's about to be at, 9.5. Although it'll be interesting to see what that vote comes out to be, because it seems like the city's pretty torn when you look at all of the Facebook city pages. People are really back and forth on that. It seems like it's going to be a close split.
Well, I'm just curious, what are they saying the tax increase is for?
Well, they're saying it's for like roads, structures, and just like a general fund. They've also claimed that it'll go to build the fire department a training facility.
But they have not shown you a budget as to where that money
it just
going.
goes into a general fund.
Yeah, no.
Well, when you look up,
ever vote on
never. No, it has to be all written out.
Absolutely not.
100%.
Never.
My husband looked up their budget and their what they have online that we had access to, because a lot of this they tell you to request it through the state, through the what's the act. Gosh dang, my brain just went, my coffee hasn't kicked in. So there's an act that you have to request information from, the Freedom of Request Act, right?
Freedom of Information.
There we go, Freedom of Information. Yeah. Okay, thank you, we got there. So a lot of it, the city tells you have to go and request through that. So, but my husband had found somewhere about this budget, and he's looking at it and he's like, some of this stuff doesn't add up. And then I've talked to a few people in the community that were formerly involved in community, very involved in the city and the community. And they're sharing with me that when the city tells you that they're going to put the money somewhere, that isn't true. And they have the receipts to back it up. And so I'm not a private investigator, but if somebody is, I'm sure there are things that are out there that they could go and dig up there. But it just seems fishy. The more I ask questions, the more questions I have.
Yeah, no, I'm going to say you never, ever, and no city leader, no good city leader should ever have a tax increase. We had to have one in Luther, and we were very specific about what it went for, and it had to go for that, which was our Luther Public Works, because it had been so long. I mean, people flush their toilets and turn on their sinks and don't realize that the amount of effort, just maintenance, is required to keep all those things running. And I understand that. I mean, it's hard to sit and think on those things if you don't know about them. Mm-hmm. But we hadn't raised water rates or sewage rates in a long time. And we were just finding that we could not keep up with the maintenance costs that we were having, because we're an older town, so we were very specific when we said, look, this is going to go into this, because we have to keep this, this maintenance going on these systems. So,
and that's partially why I'm like, if you want an increase, like that's why the geo bonds work. Like, they're not great because yes, you raise your property taxes, but the citizens, they get a chance to say, yeah, we want this, or no, we don't want this. And so we want to see this come to fruition. So if they want a training facility, the citizens will probably do a fundraiser or whatever. Like, I'm sure we could find the money to do a training facility for the fire department and the police officers. Like, That's not a problem. Our citizens in Moore love our heroes, our first responders, and they would absolutely take care of them. But just to generally say, no, we're just going to increase the sales tax and it's just going to all go into one pot. And, it just seems like you're saying, just it's not right.
Yeah, it doesn't even seem, it's just flat not right.
Yeah.
I mean, no citizen should be expected to just give the government money because they say they need it. That
Right.
it doesn't work that way.
I'm the
But
government, I'm here to help.
Right. But I'll be honest, that's part of the reasons why I don't like giving blanket money to schools.
Yeah.
To me, that money needs to be, it just goes, well, here's your money.
Mm-hmm.
Well, obviously giving them money isn't helping because our literacy rates and our math rates are going down no matter how much money goes in.
Yeah.
So that's obviously not working. And there needs to be some kind of, this is going for this literacy program. This is going for this, whatever, but it doesn't work that way. And then we wonder, oh gosh, why isn't government working? Well, because we're not specific with it and we let them get away with doing stuff like that. Well, here, have some money. It's not your money. You stole that from me. I want to know where it's going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, there was a comment I want to get back because we've had, once you start talking about taxes, people will chime in, which is good. Gracie's comment I wanted to highlight because I think it's so important. I've seen so many renters vote to raise property tax, then complain because the rent goes up. And that goes back to what Robert said, is we let people vote on property tax increases, something that's going to increase our property taxes when they don't own property.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that needs reformed as well. That absolutely should change.
I think, honestly, if we could even get that part done, because the whole getting rid of property tax, it cracks me up. And I'm going to say this publicly. I've said it to other people and I'll say it publicly. So I believe that the reason why we have property taxes in the first place was because it's very easy to hide money because most people don't own their own homes. It's a mortgage. Mm-hmm. And so those property taxes get fixed in with your mortgage and you never have to write that property tax bill and that check. I mean, and if you own your own property, you're writing that property tax check. Otherwise, it doesn't even compute that you have it because it goes into your mortgage and your mortgage pays it. And I believe that that's a very specific thing to do to keep people from understanding how much they're paying in property taxes, even though the assessor sends out a thing saying, here's what your property taxes went to. Sure. Most people just go, and because they're not even thinking that they pay property taxes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So my idea is, because we have to have county services. I'm sorry, but I want my roads to function. I want a fireman to show up. I want a policeman to show up. I want these things. And I think every community should have them. But there are two ways you can go with this. Every community can fund their own. Mm-hmm. We all get together as a community. We say, okay, it's going to cost us this much a year. So this is what we're all going to have to pay. And we pay it to that community, right? Okay. Instead of the county, which is an overall, because out here in Luther, we're our own town, but we're in Oklahoma County. Hera, it's its own town. It's in Oklahoma County, right? Moore is its own town. It's in Oklahoma County. We should do this in our communities, in our communities, not just our county, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
Because it's right next to us. Then we know, hey, we funded that fireman. Hey, fireman, do great job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it should go back to communities and get away from the county, number one. But then the second thing is that you should write a check for every single, it should not be in your mortgage anymore. You should have to write a check to your public school. You should have to write a check to your county for roads. You should have to write a check to do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I guarantee you, once people started writing those checks, there would suddenly be how much money are we spending?
Right. Absolutely.
Which is why nobody wants to do that.
They would want to know where it's going and how it's spent. And I mean, how many people go to the public schools and say, let me see your budget. Let me see line items. Let me see that. Nobody goes and does that. But if we did that, just like they did with Tulsa and Oklahoma counties public schools, and we did that, what atrocities would we see? And how would we react to that? Would we want to see this stopped? More than likely, yeah. And we could say, okay, so-and-so could run that better and make sure that these teachers are getting funded better. Because the problem isn't that there's not enough money to pay our teachers or to increase their pay or to bring in good teachers with, benefits and things like that, bonuses for sign-ons. There's money, but the money's not going to the right places. The money's being hidden. The money is being distributed to here and more. Somebody at the doorstep told me that they just had like 5 new superintendents of this, that, or the other added. So why do we need so many administrators? If it's about the kids, it should be about the teachers who are teaching the kids. So let's cut that back and put the money in the teachers' pockets. It just makes sense what you're saying is, but we have to have people willing to say, this isn't right. Show me the money. And so, yeah, absolutely.
Well, I do think that that's one thing as a candidate that you can do is it's really a great way to educate people because you have a little bit more of a spotlight and you can educate people because nobody talks like this. Yeah. Like we're talking right now. Nobody talks like that.
Yeah. This is why I don't get to more doors because I get stuck at doors. If I had more time in the day and less bathroom incidents, I think that I could get to more doors and have more conversations because people do want to talk because I will talk to them about this stuff. Like let's have a conversation. I want to know what's going on. I want to hear what you know because you worked in the city and you're telling me that the city is saying it's going to go to firefighters, but for a fact it's not going to go to the firefighters. Well, tell me and I'll make sure that this gets out there. Like, let's go. Let's get this thing done. And so I have these long conversations at the door, which, as a candidate, it's like, I got to keep going. But at the same time, if I don't tell you and educate you and share with you, what good was it coming to your door anyways? So it's a give and take there. It's hard to find that balance of.
Well, I'm kind of curious too. Do you actually have people who quiz you at the door?
Oh, yeah. All the time.
You?
All the time. Yeah. I had a lady in the heart of Moore and she came out of her house. And at first I thought she wasn't really going to talk to me, but she came out of her house and the sun was shining real bright. So she turned her back to the sun and she started asking me questions. And before I know it, I had 30 minutes had gone by. And seriously, 100%, 30 minutes had gone by. And I get back in the car and I had all these missed calls. Ezra was in the car napping. But she asked me deep questions. She really was involved and wanted to know answers to these questions about what I thought about property taxes, what I thought about homeschooling, what I thought about, because she homeschools her kids, what I thought about, you name it. I've got questioned. I get questions on, all sorts of things. But she seriously, it was one after the other. It was like she knew what she wanted to ask, as if she does it to all the candidates. I don't know, but she knew what she wanted to ask. And by the end of it, I think I had won her vote, but it was 30 minutes at the door.
I find that, and I don't know if it's just because, we're so rural out here, nobody ever comes to doors. So they're shocked that there's somebody, that is running for an office on their doorstep. And that shock just kind of sucks it all. And then you're just really uncomfortable because you're going, can I answer any questions?
Yeah. Well, I get that too. There was this one house in the more rural part of the district and they're so sweet. And, number one rule is like, don't go into people's houses. Right. Well, they're like, well, the lady, it was a really windy day, and the lady couldn't hear, and she had her hearing aid in, and she's like, just step in. And I'm like, husband, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
I'm okay. So I just stepped in the front door, and I'm talking to her, and she, out of her mouth, and I hear this just like you're saying all the time. I've never had a candidate knock my door before. I've never had a candidate come to my door before. Are you freaking kidding me? Like, how can that be? Like, what are these candidates doing?
I can tell you what they're doing, and that's why you and I are both running.
Yeah.
It's they get money from special interests so they can send out cards in the mail.
Yep.
That's what they do. I mean, that is the whole plan. That is how a campaign is run anymore now.
Yeah.
It's not getting in front of voters. It's not going out and talking to people. It's putting some things down, some sound bites down on a card and going to get special interest money to pay for them, because your neighbor isn't going to be able to fund a $5,000 mail out.
Nope. Absolutely not. No, there's no way. If somebody wants to donate so that I can do a mailer, I'd appreciate it. You can go to my website and do that, but I am at the doors, because there's no way I could do multiple mailers like that. There's no way that I'm going to be able to just, flood the district. And what somebody said to me once, the more mailers you get, the more they're backed by special interests. Like,
that's funny.
Keep track of those cards.
Yeah, a lot of people look at him and go, oh, look, so-and-so, they called Jenny White a rhino. I'm not voting for her anymore. Right. I mean, they know that stuff works, or they wouldn't go, play that game. So it definitely works. But I'll tell you what, the one reason I have wanted to go walk all these doors is, how do you know what's going on in your district?
Yeah, you don't.
Unless you're in your district. And I'll give you a really great example. One of the things that I've known, and I posted about this yesterday, because I think it's so important. I have noticed as I'm driving around in my district, this new addition, that new addition, there's a new addition over here. And I'm going, what is going on? Jones has two big additions, one that's kind of out on the northern part of the town, and then one right behind Sonic that apparently hasn't gone anywhere for a while, but it's still there. And they've got these going, and I'm going, because I talked to a voter from Jones yesterday, and I was like, well, how is this getting done? Because you have to stop and think about the drain that it's going to be on the infrastructure to have all of these new additions come in. And let's say that you're out in the middle of nowhere. If you don't, you're still going to have to build a big water well, to be able to run water to all of those homes. If you're not going to be on some kind of, you have to have. So let me ask you this. So we have all of these new additions that are going in. How are we going to get a data center anywhere, let alone in Luther? How's that going to happen when you have all of these new additions going in, where people actually are going to want to do laundry and flush the toilet?
Yeah. I think it all works together, as I've been attending different city council meetings in not just in my district, but outside of my district, and watching different ones that have been taking place. I think that it all works together. They're voting on in city council meetings to upgrade their infrastructures in plans to bring in these data centers. And they're saying it's in the name of these new subdivisions and these new local facilities. But then you look and you think, if you can just think 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, what's this going to look like? And it all plays together. So it is going to be a huge strain. It's going to be a huge strain on the water. It's going to be a huge strain on the electricity. I've spoken out against data centers. I'm not for them. I'm for technology, and I'm for advancing technology, because I understand that's the day and age that we live in. But there has got to be a better way. And there is plenty of other places that don't struggle with drought issues like Oklahoma. We don't need to put a bigger strain on our water That's unnecessary. And then you're going to raise the electric rates of folks here again, because it's going to put a strain on our electricity. It's unfortunate to see how this is happening. But I think they work together, unfortunately, putting in these new subdivisions with new water lines and upgrading all the infrastructure in the cities. I think it goes hand in hand with trying to bring the data centers in.
Golly, Wendy says they're trucking in water now on Waterloo because of new business. Well, and that's another thing. If we're going to have businesses in our communities, but we have all of these new additions coming in, and then and here's my thing with data centers. Look, most of this technology, according to what Trump says, is supposed to be geared toward the military. Why are these not on military bases?
That's a great question.
I want it. Why are we taking up grade A farmland to put a database, a data center on, a solar farm on? And it's not a farm. It's not a farm. You can't grow solar panels. As a matter of fact, it ruins farming.
You can't. I thought I had some solar panel seeds back there.
I know. It was the same place where the government money tree is.
Right. Exactly.
Same place. Yeah, it's got to, there's got to be a better way to do this, and what we're doing right now isn't it? I mean, my suggestion is, and I put this out yesterday, having seen everything I'm seeing in my district, we have to put a giant pause on this. A huge pause on this database thing until we figure out where all of this is coming from. Why we can't locate them on military bases? Why can't we locate them in industrial parks? Why are we having to put them out here in farmland that isn't already concrete city? You know, it's something does not add up with these things.
Well, if we want to put our tinfoil hats back on, let's put our tinfoil hats back on. I mean, it's the food. Target the food. If you can control the food, you can control the people. So
I just wish people would, you know, I wish they'd see this, you know. I don't know. Anyway, I feel like you do. If you can't be out in your district, then why are you running?
Exactly.
There's not a reason for you to run.
Yeah. You got to be like the people. I mean, if it is about we the people, then we the people need to know you're about them. The same lady that quizzed me for like 30 minutes, she was like, I'm sorry about my driveway. It's got oil stains and this, that. And I'm like, okay, so does my house. Like, I don't own a private jet. I don't, have much money outside of being able to live a happy, simple life, right? I'm just like you. You can come over. I'm pretty sure, just put a dead truck in my backyard and you'd think we live like, come on. I'm just like you. I am an average, normal person who just wants the best for my family and my family's future. And I want to see things improve and not continue to decline. So yeah, being with the people in the district is absolute game changer.
Well, and Robert makes a good point, because I just talked to a couple of farmers, marijuana farmers, the other day, and we had a very long conversation. Just the pot farms watering their plants crushed our rural water district capacity. Can't imagine what a data center would do. And that's another thing that we've got to really put into this. I guess in a way it's kind of frustrating walking the district, because I find all of these people, like the pot farmers the other day. These were super nice people. They just got involved because they were doing it as an investment. That's what they were doing. And we had this huge conversation. It was when, like you were talking about, I looked down and went, oh my gosh, it's tomorrow already.
Yeah, exactly.
And you just don't think about some of these things. And I do believe if you look at what happens at 23rd and Lincoln and some of the bills that are being heard and some of the bills that go out, you can tell these people never visit their district, because they are so inapropos to anything going on out here. Just nothing. That doesn't have anything to do with what's going on
Oh, yeah.
out here. And they would know that if they actually got out in their district. If
Mhm.
it wasn't a, hey, oh, look, all of us are on a team. We're at 23rd and Lincoln and we're a team. If you were not thinking that, and you were putting your We the People hat on and what was going on in your district, the world would be so much better.
It would improve drastically overnight.
Certainly Oklahoma would.
Oh, absolutely. I was in Ohio for a board meeting
I
last
saw
week,
that.
and I was sharing we went out for ice cream. They have this great ice cream place up there, kind of like, local Brahms would be, but they have one that's their local dairy, and they do ice cream. And don't tell the Brahms family, but it might be better. I don't know. It's
I'm
pretty
gonna cut
good.
that part out of our podcast.
Right. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I get it when I go up there, and I am sitting there and I'm talking with some of the folks that serve on the board with me, and I'm telling them about at the time some bills. It was the donkey milk bill.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'm telling them about donkey milk, and they're like, you can donkey milk? Like that, a whole new world for them. And so then they start looking it up, and one of them lived in Pennsylvania, and she's like finding all these donkey farms, and she's like, I'm going to have to go check it out. And then she's looking up her bill, like her laws in Pennsylvania on donkey milk. And, they were just dumbfounded. They didn't know that these were things that people couldn't do or couldn't just, have access to, and that we're even arguing about having donkey milk access. And, if somebody wants to drink donkey milk, they're like, let them drink donkey milk. Right. Like, just let them drink the donkey milk. But then it was literally that next night, I'm sitting in the hotel room, and Jim Shaw's clip about the human fertilizer comes up, and I send it to those guys that I was just at ice cream with the night before. And I'm like, you want to think you thought donkey milk was bad? Look what just happened today. And I kid you not, they were just absolutely gobstopped. They were like, what in the Oklahoma is happening to our country? Like, it was outrageous. And they were like, this is crazy, the stuff that Oklahoma is dealing with. I'm like, it absolutely is. Like, these are like, shouldn't even be on the floor bills. Like, where did these come from? And so, yeah, it's absolutely, some of the bills up there are interesting because they're not listening to We the People.
Oh, but they want to dump poop on us and then human composting. That's just crazy. So Valerie says, can you give your thoughts on Islam and mosques being built in Oklahoma?
Absolutely. I went to the Broken Arrow city council meeting. That was one of the city council meetings I've attended recently. And they didn't pass that, allowing them to change that way that they were determined that land. And, I don't think that that's a good idea for Oklahoma. I think, and people struggle with that because you've got your First Amendment right of, freedom of speech, and then you've got your freedom of religion. And yes, we have freedom of religion, but just because you're allowed to practice your religion doesn't mean that we have to allow you to build the mosque. Like, that's different. Like, they could deny a church, absolutely 100%, their right to build, but they can't stop us from practicing our religion. But I don't think that Oklahoma needs to bring that in. I'm from Michigan. That's where I was born and raised. And you just look at Dearborn. And my grandparents still live up there, and they live probably about 30, 40 minutes from Dearborn. And the stories that you hear are just ridiculous. And Dearborn has been completely taken over, and the culture has completely shifted, and it no longer looks like America. It looks like a foreign country. And so if we want to remain America, we have to remain with our cultural standards, and having these call to prayers daily out there is not something that is an American culture. And so I think that Broken Arrow did the right thing. And I know that they had their reasons as far as the land wasn't right and things like that. But I think they did the right thing. Most Oklahomans didn't want that.
And I definitely think, I think there's a good distinction there. We're not preventing you from practicing your religion just because you don't get a church built or a mosque built or whatever that is. And I mean, it's a shame because some people, that practice Islam don't have the same philosophy as some of the more radical, Sharia law followers. And that's fine, but Sharia law is not compatible with the Constitution of the United States in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely not.
And to think that we can be open to that is not that's we'll end up like Europe in a very fast pace where
100%.
and some parts of Texas are already becoming that.
Yes.
And that's not, when you come to America, you don't come to institute a little Islam or a little Vietnam or a little Venezuela or whatever. You come to assimilate into our population to be an American, not an Islam American or a Venezuelan American or whatever. You are an American. It's an all-encompassing term that's based on what our cultural preferences have been for hundreds of years since our founding. And this year is our 250th anniversary. So we should be very, proud and excited for that we're one of the longest standing countries in the world without big change. So it's not compatible. I mean, feel free to practice, but you will assimilate, and we're not going to institute an entirely different set of laws for you to live in our country. If you're not happy with the laws that we have, then you needn't come here. Then
that was the American dream. Right. Well, that was the American dream, right? Was to come here, to assimilate, to become an American citizen, and to become a part of the culture that was here. That was what you wanted. That was the American dream.
Correct.
Well, somewhere they are trying to shift that, and that's no longer the dream. It's just come to America and take over. So that's shifted. That mindset has shifted, and we need to.
Well, we've allowed that. We've allowed that by falling into that notion of we have Black people and brown people and these people and those people and these people. We're all people. We're just all people. I mean, it doesn't matter what we look like. We're just all people. And the sooner we get that into our heads, the less nonsense there will be, because we are going, no matter how different we are, there are going to be some things that we can agree on. It's funny because very, very liberal people hate data centers.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Go, well, you're a liberal, so you're a brown liberal, and I'm not. That's just simply silly. Absolutely. We don't need to characterize people. We just say, hey, I don't agree with you on that, but I agree with you on this.
Yeah.
So let's work together on this.
Absolutely. 100%. I've talked about it too. Growing up, my other set of grandparents lived in Michigan, and they lived next to a Muslim man who was married to a Baptist woman. Now that sounds like we're going to start a joke there, but it's not. It's truth. It's reality. She went to her Baptist church and he did his Muslim thing. But part of their culture is to take care of the elderly. And so they always took care of my grandparents, but when you look at the Sharia law and you look at the Quran and you look at what they're taught, the things that they're taught truly aren't peaceful things. They truly aren't, we're the bad guys. We're the infidels. We're the ones that they need to conquer. And so you have to look at what they are actually being taught. And honestly, if you looked at the Bible, if most Christians fully functioned in their God-given authority, I don't know that we'd be very peaceful either. Jesus went in flipping tables. I mean, he came and he flipped tables. So I don't know that we
made the rope.
Yeah, right. Like, come on, we seriously. But I think most Christians are taught to just sit down, shut up, and be quiet and not take action. And so I think we need to change that too, because, there's WWJD, right? What would Jesus do back in the day? That slogan,
Yeah.
Jesus would flip a few tables these days.
Yeah.
So we need to look at that too.
Well, I did want to point out, Valerie says, but how do we legally push back on the religion and Sharia law without violating and you don't mean the law, you mean the Constitution. It seems that they're using our Constitution against us, and it appears that we're losing. Well, I mean, I am not going to disagree with that, because I think the problem that we've had is we don't want to be the not nice people. We always want to be the welcoming people. We all want, we want everybody to get along, and then everybody realizes that and then uses that one really good thing against us to do whatever they want. And I think it just comes to a point where you say, no, you're not practicing Sharia law here. And we get the courts to agree that that's not something that we're going to do. And I think that's really the biggest problem that we have. No country, look at Europe. No country can exist under two forms of law. There has to be one form of law, or the country breaks apart. And then it's not a country at all, which is, I think the ultimate goal is to break all countries apart and keep them from functioning. And this is one of the ways you do it. But you just say, no, this isn't, practice your religion all you want. But we're not doing that. That's where we stop that. And then if communities don't want mosques, or even if they don't want Catholic, shrines, or what, people,
right. Those could be voted down. Exactly.
Have the right to adjust their zoning. So that's up to the communities. And You're right. Just because you don't get to build a church, or you don't get to build a mosque, or you don't get to build a shrine, doesn't mean you can't practice your religion.
Absolutely. 100%. And I get the question when I do worship services at the church or at the Capitol, and I'm leading the National Day of Prayer this year, which is May 7th. Everybody come out. Event starts at 10 a.m. on the Southside Capitol steps. Well, where are the Muslims? Why don't we get the opportunity to stand here and read the Quran? Da, da. Well, okay. Have you tried? Have you asked? Have you rented the room?
Yeah.
Well, nobody's stopping you from doing that. I've gone through the process of securing the area and renting out the space. The building is our building. It's the people's house. So if that's something you really wanted to do, and you could find somebody who would support that, because some of the things that I do, you have to have a backing from a senator or a house rep, things to kind of oversee. If you find somebody to do that, sure, then maybe you could do that, but nobody's stopping you. We're not telling you cannot.
Correct. So Shelley says, and I think this is probably the best sum up, because we're going to have to get off of here. I knew we were going to have fun talking.
Yes.
Shelley says, don't force Sharia on America. If you agree with it in your church community, they want to follow it. That's your deal, but don't change the Constitution or force it on me. And I think that should be the bottom line for everything in America is you do you, but you can't change the laws to force it on me, and you can't try to force it on me. And that's, that's where we start having problems, because I did have one lady, I got to wrap it up real quick. I did have one lady, and our whole discussion was like this. She was serious. And she wanted to know how, I would keep her from being vaccinated against her will, right? Or, having to wear a mask against her will. And that's fair.
Yeah.
And no government should force you to take anything that you don't want to take. No government should force you to wear a mask. No government, none of this is government's area of expertise. Governments need to stick to roads and infrastructure. And I think even policing and fire should go back to communities.
Yeah.
So along with schools. So there's not a lot you have to do, government. You just keep giving yourself stuff to do. But trust me, you don't have a lot to do here. And one of them is, don't make me do stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah.
That it's not right.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. They should not be forcing mandates like that. Absolutely not.
No. All right. Well, Heather, that was fun. And I know you've got to get somewhere.
Yes, I'm going to the Capitol. Are you going to the Capitol?
I am. I've got a couple of things I got to get done first, but I'm definitely going to be there by the end of the day today. So
it's filing day. No joke. I'm running for office. There's no joke there. And, and tonight is the start of Passover, which is the death and burial and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the celebration, the Last Supper. A lot of people know it as the Last Supper, Passover. So we'll be celebrating that tonight as well. So it's a good day all around.
Yeah, it's a nice.
Thank you so much for having me.
I don't know why, but I got all mixed up and thought last weekend was Easter. I guess I just wanted Jesus to come out of the tomb faster. I don't know.
Don't we want him to come back soon? Lord Jesus, come.
All right, Heather, I loved our visit today, and thank you so much for being on with me. And hopefully I'll see you later on this afternoon, but hopefully, we can get back together, maybe even have a podcast on your prison ministry.
Absolutely.
Prison ministry specifically, because I just do. I think it's wonderful and so needed. So absolutely, we're going to keep in touch. Again, thank you so much. And thank you for running. Thank you for standing up and running.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for running. We'll see you later today.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Alrighty. Bye-bye. Loved that conversation. Knew I was going to love that conversation. I have really enjoyed meeting her. She's just so fun, and just really enjoyed meeting her. So if you haven't met her, and certainly if you're in Senate District 24, you need to phone her up. She's on the internet. You can find her, easy to find. If you can't find her, contact me. I'll find her for you. But you do need to visit with her. And this just highlights, as I close out today, y'all, I'm putting on my best Okie. Y'all, it is a big deal this year with elections. We have a lot of very, 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 very important elections. And if you're going to pretend like you're an ostrich and stick your head in the sand and not look into the candidates that are out there running, if I find you, I will slap you. I will. I mean, because it is so important. Everybody do this with me. We the people. It can't be we the people if we won't take our job seriously and do the civic duty that we need to do. So to let you know. All right. Friday, we're going to have another candidate on. We've had Lisa Janley, who's running for labor commissioner, but now we're going to have Kevin West, who is in the legislature right now, but he is running for labor commissioner, and he's going to be on Friday. So please tune back in for yet another one of our candidates. And I was talking to another candidate just yesterday. I think we're going to have to start kind of doing some specials, throwing some specials in here with candidates, so you guys have a chance to be able to see who's running. Because do not forget, even though these people are running in different districts than you are able to contribute to their campaign and help if you feel like they have a message that resonates with you and that they're going to be we the people. Then you should be donating to them, whether it's your money or your time or getting a sign from them to put up in your district. Do not forget that once they're at the Capitol, they have a say in laws and bills that affect everybody in the state. So don't just say, oh, Heather's running in Senate District 24 and she's not in my district. Okay. But if you like what she has to say and it resonates with you, please go to her website. Look her up, donate, do whatever volunteer, get a sign, whatever that's going to be. Do not forget, just because it's not a state office, sorry, lost my verbiage there. It's not a state office like governor or lieutenant governor or labor commissioner or state superintendent. These people do work for you, and they do have a say in what happens at the statewide level. So please look Heather and other candidates up. Make sure you're asking them questions about their candidacy. And talking to them and getting to know them. It's so very important. Okay, so Kevin West will be on with us tomorrow on Friday at 9 a.m. So don't forget, be right here then. And then we'll see you later on. And you have and I mean this, have a great April Fool's Day. We'll see you again on Friday at 9 a.m.